ever feel like you're doing everything right on defense, but the run still leaks through? Because that's what happens when someone doesn't hold their gap. So like this week, we're locking in on the unsung heroes of the defensive line, the guys who don't chase the glory, but they hold the line. It's all about leverage, patience, and playing square. There's no splash plays. If you can't anchor first, like let's talk about gap integrity, hand fighting, and the dudes who make linebackers look good. Yeah. Welcome back to the Hoggie Shuffle this week. You got host Preston, co-host Robbie, and we're talking about the big boys on the D-line. We're talking about the guys in the trenches. We're talking about the dogs this week. First thing I want to say, guys, is obviously like, subscribe, follow us. We're on all socials. We got TikTok, Instagram. We're on YouTube Shorts. We're on YouTube. Like and follow us on YouTube. You know, we always need more subscribers to build this platform up and keep it going. So like, subscribe, and follow. And I want to give a shout out to all returning listeners. You know, anybody that's been out there week to week that keeps tuning in, keeps checking us out. You know, we love you. We appreciate the support, boys. We really do. And like I said, this week we're talking about D-line fundamentals. You know, we're talking about the spotlighting the trench monsters, the all-time legends, and we got a few NFL moments in there as well, too. You know, we got a couple fan favorites pulling back the wheel of teams with a little twist this week. We got some trivia coming in, and, we want to talk about a few NFL stories. We're going to bring in a little segment. We talked about it last week with the Whitworth story. I want to bring that in every week now. I want to talk about some O-line, D-line legends, guys out there that really played the position properly and just proved what it meant to be the best at their position. First things, though, little local football update. You know, I just want to give a shout out to all the young men who are out there with the U16, U17, U18s out here in Alberta. You know, lots of guys that I coach, that I've seen through our league, through our area. You know, there's lots of guys out representing the north here, so it's really cool to see, guys. So keep up the good work and keep fighting.
Up next, Coach's Corner. Run first, pass later. Let's deep dive into this one.
First one you want to hit is strike before you fly. And so what I mean by that is, you know, it's all about the eyes before feet. You know, you read that hat level, you stay low, you get the run. You keep high, you get the pass. You know, shoulders tilt before moving. What I mean by all that kind of stuff, guys, at the end of the day, you got to hold that gap in there. You got to stay flat, then you got to go vertical. You know, I'm saying lots of things right now, but what I mean by that is when you're sitting in that line, you know, you're sitting in that defensive tackle spot, you're in the interior, you know, you really got to strike the blocker's hip. You got to lock out. You got to stay square. You know, you got to feel what the backfield's going to do. You know, if you just rip right through and you don't hold that gap, it's going to be a long day.
Right? It's one of those things where you got to take 15 tools and put them in and play them all at one time. You know, you got to have the best footwork. You know, you got to make sure that all your weight's majority over your inside foot so you can kick back if you need to. It's an array of a lot of things that need to be mushed together.
And you're going to ask yourself, why is this critical? Why is this something we're talking about? You know, you look at last season in the NFL, gap sound defenses on first downs, they only allowed 1.6 fewer yards per rush league wide. And that's a next gen stat. I mean, that's something that's huge. So holding your gap, it forces the offenses into a 2nd and 8 situation. 43% of snaps, missed gaps, dropped that to 27%. Right? So if you miss that gap and you just run right through and you try to go for the quarterback on a run play, majority speaking, like it's going to run right by you. You're going to be gone. So you got to realize you can't unleash that exotic pressure if you're just leaking 4 yards before contact. You know, you got to make sure that you make that contact, you hold that gap, you sit there, and you got to always go run, then pass. Always, every single time.
100%. You got to go through your man if you're going up the field.
You have to.
I mean, we got a couple NFL examples this year. So a couple things you can trust right now. So we're going to look at a guy like Chris Jones, who's arguably one of the greatest that's ever done it. Kansas City Chiefs, absolute just savage. 32 total tackles, 21 solo, 12 tackles for a loss, 6 sacks, 74 total pressures, 15 hits in 2024. Now that's worth the clap right there. That's worth the clap.
100%.
He logged 855 snaps. That's right around 86% of all defensive reps, while commanding double teams 58% of the time on pass rush. Now that is just gross. Pass rush win rate 22.5, first among D tackles, and run stop 9.3, top 10 interior PFF. Pass rush, Arsenal trademark, long arm, forklift, club, swim to defeat offset. I mean, the guy just has an array of moves, counter, interior ghost move, forced guard to overcommit.
His ghost move is nasty.
It's absolutely gross. You know, the thing that I like about this guy is he shows gap discipline. Early downs, late downs, doesn't matter what time of the game it is, doesn't matter if you're flustered or whatever they need. This guy's always doing his job and getting it done. Impact movement, week 5 against the Broncos, strip sack, forced, and a fumble recovery. Wow. Absolutely wow. What else do we got here from Week 15? Chargers fourth quarter, 3rd and 7 sack that iced the game, 24-21 for the win. I mean, this is probably the biggest one. AFC Championship versus the Build. Drew 3 holding calls and battled the fourth quarter pass on 3rd and 3. But bottom line, this guy is the premier of the league's interior disruptors. Combines elite strength and a burst of veteran patience, proof that you can wreck pass plays while still respecting run fits.
The guy's a dog. I mean, you've seen him in the Super Bowl. He did everything he possibly could to try and stop that tush push. I think he even went sideways at one point. Like he is a guy that does everything he possibly can for his team.
You know, last spring when he wasn't sure he was re-signing with the Chiefs, and there was the whispers that he might go to the old evil empire, to the Raiders. I mean, everybody wants wants a guy like Chris Jones on their team.
Now, a guy I want to chat about here, he's Pennsylvania Steel. He's a monster. I mean, Cameron Heyward, he's obviously playing for the Steelers. He is an absolute dog. 71 total tackles, 35 solos with 8 sacks. I think he had 11 pass deflections and a career high of 16 tackles for a loss last year.
Whoa.
He logged 897 snaps, so 97% or 90% of the team's defensive reps at age 35. Right? Yeah. That is some unmatched durability and just a monstrous motor this dude has in the tank.
Wow. His
run stop rate, 12.7%, second among all interior defenders with a minimum of 300 snaps, and a pass rush win rate of 18.3%, fourth among all defensive tackles. Despite drawing double teams on 59% of his pass reps. So that's an ESPN stat, so I'm telling you that you can take that to the bank. This dude is a monster. The toolbox he's got, I mean, he has got a forklift of an arm. He resets the line of scrimmage. He's got this huge hump move that versus all the oversets. He hits the signature cross chop counter for his jump set and guards, and he pairs hands with elite hip flips to stay square. And that's what it comes down to as an interior D-line, guys. If you can sit there and flip those hips, and a good coach will teach you how to go with that nice hip flip movement, it makes the world of difference because you flip those hips, you sit in your gap, you hold that lane, and you just wait for him to come to you.
You got those hips flipped, it means that you're going straight up the field no matter what happens.
And the dude, like I said, being at 35 years old, he's got a veteran IQ. You know, he sets fronts pre-snap. He'll alert for jet motions. Looks like he's credited with 42 assist calls on coach's film. You know, that's effectively the D-line signal caller out there. Like, I mean, he's playing center out there on the opposite side of the ball. He's calling out everything that's happening. He's understanding. And that's one of the most important things you can do as a solid defensive line is being vocal and let each other know what's going on. Just like we talked about the offensive line being vocal, it goes both ways. You know, you have to be able to be vocal out there, understand what you're seeing, understand what's going on, because it makes a world of difference. So, guys, bottom line, you know, he's a masterclass in disciplined violence. He controls the gaps early. Like, he flips the switch once the pass is declared. And that what I mean by that, as soon as he holds that gap and he waits and sees, oh, shoot, quarterback's passing, he's gone. He's hitting you with that move. He's going right back to that quarterback. And, I mean, you look at Week 10 versus the Browns last year, he had 2 goal line stuffs on consecutive plays back-to-back, kept the game 17-10. And then Week 14 versus the Bengals, he had a strip sack on 3rd and 7 with 2 minutes, 11 seconds left, keeping that 20-17 lead. I mean, the dude is a monster. And so when you take a look at both of these guys, our big key takeaways from this segment is, you know, explosiveness without patience it's just chaos. And so the biggest thing, like I said, you got to own that gap first, confirm what the play is, and then you hunt. And then it's always run first, pass second. So going to the next segment here, guys, we're going to go into the big guy spotlight. So these are going to be some underrated trench warriors who just wreck games quietly. You know, they're not the number one guys in the league, but I'll tell you what, you're going to know their names. So first guy I want to talk about is Justin. I'm going to butcher this one. Madubuike. Justin Madubuike. 2024 stats. He had 13 sacks, 33 solo tackles, and 2 forced fumbles. He played all 17 games and became the Ravens' most disruptive interior defender. He uses his elite first step quickness and leverages to split gaps, disrupt zone runs. I mean, he's often aligned in the 3-tech, but he shows his versatility sliding in inside on third downs, really getting that inside control, making sure they can't run inside on the gaps. And he quietly led all interior defensive linemen in pressures behind only Chris Jones and Quinyon Williams. And like when you're in company with those kind of guys, man, get out of here. You're a dog. He's going to be the kind of guy you're going to see him more. You're going to hear about this guy a lot more. And he's not just a pass rusher. You know, he's disciplined on early downs. Like I said before, he sits in the gaps, guys. He sits in the gaps. He baits those linemen into oversetting to make sure that he can sit there and wait for that run to come to him, and he just eats that all day long. And the big reason on why we're going to talk about him, why he matters, is he turned into a consistent game record. He's not just a flash guy. His growth is a blueprint for D lineman development.
All right, I got Alim McNeill, Detroit Lions D tackle, 2024 stats: 5 sacks, 40 tackles, 10 QB hits, 7 TFLs, tackles for loss. He had a major breakout season in his third year, especially down the stretch with the Detroit playoff push heated up. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Of all the things you'll say about Detroit, their defense has been just otherworldly these last couple years. He's a natural one-tech, added pass rush, moves into his toolbox, club rip, ball swipe, bull swipe, forklift. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, he's really, really good at maintaining pad level, always plays an excellent core strength, really gives up zero ground no matter who he's playing against. Played key roles in stuffing both inside zone and dual run concepts. Let's see what he saw. Saw a PFF run defense of grade 76.3, placing him in the top tier among all interior defenders. Why he matters, McNeill's proved he can do it all. Plug, run, early downs, and collapse the pocket on third down. He's a modern-day nose-all with juice, man. Like, he is just absolutely crushing the competitor, plain and simple. Don't overlook his athleticism. He's a big body. He's a little pudgy around the middle, but his agility drills translate to real production on the field, helps him make big plays and get to where he needs to be with balance and bend.
And like I said, both these guys, they're not top of the storylines. You're not going to see them on the NFL news, but I'll tell you what, like I said, you're going to hear their names a lot more often because they're the kind of guys that are making plays happen. They're stuffing stuff down. They're not letting anybody run inside, and they're really holding those gaps in there. So, hats off to both these guys. Can't wait to talk about them more. Next thing we're going to roll into, guys, is going to be the Trench Trivia Blitz. So, this is something we're trying a little bit this week. And, it's going to be a couple questions. I think it's 5 questions here. I'm going to answer a few. Rob's going to answer a few as well, too. And we're just going to go from there.
Which defensive tackle owns the modern single-season sack record for an interior lineman with 20.5 sacks in 2018?
If we're going off recent years, my go-to, I want to say it's probably going to be old AD Aaron Donald. I really think he's the kind of guy that he could do that for sure. So let me know what did I get on that? I think it had to be Aaron Donald, really. Let us know if we're off on these ones. Let us know for sure.
Okay. All right, next question. Which team led the NFL in total sacks during the 2024 season with 63?
I don't know on that one. I'm going to go sacks. I'm going to go...
They play in the AFC West.
I'm going to go Chargers.
Close. It was the Denver Broncos. 63 total sacks.
Damn.
And I don't believe they finished over 500.
Damn. Okay, let me ask you a question here. Let's see. Who racked up league best 74 pressures among interior defensive linemen last year, according to the PFF stats?
One guy or a whole team?
One guy.
Interior guys. I'm going to have to go with my man, Chris Jones. I think that's wrong, but I'm going to go with my man, Chris Jones.
No, we talked about him earlier, right? League best 22.4% pass rush win rate with still respecting the run fits and disruption and discipline. It was Chris Jones.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you this one. Which veteran D tackle, we already talked about it, so let's see if you remember, posed a 90.3 overall PFF grade and a league high of 47 run stops in 2024 while doing it all at age 35?
I'm going to go with, thank you for the question, because his name is Cam Heyward and he plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes, sir. At 35, it's technique over traits. His mirror, lockout, and peak shed is masterclass in patience. And our last question of the trivia segment here is going to be, which sophomore D tackle earned a second-team All-Pro honors in 2024 with 42 tackles, 4.5 sacks, and 6 pass breakups? This one's a tough one. A little hint?
Yes, I do.
That's my little hint right there.
Is it... Jordan... I'm going to draw hard on the last name. Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Oh, what's his name? Philadelphia Eagles. it's right on the tip of my tongue. Am I right with his name's Jordan?
Nope.
No, it's not Jordan. Okay, who is it?
It's Jalen Carter. The other monster. Jordan Davis also a monster.
Jordan Davis. I was picking Jordan Davis. So I got that wrong.
And guys, like I said before, it comes down to learning to play run first. I mean, he played run first, then he unlocked that 81.5 pass rush grade when it's time to ball. And he knows how to sit there in that gap and then hunt. So, that's a great segment. I thought the trivia went well there. Our next segment we're going to roll into is going to be the Wheel of Teams.
Wheel of Teams.
The Contender versus Pretender edition. So we're going to change it up a little bit this week. We're going to do 3 rounds, that's it. And we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to pick one, Rob's going to pick one. Actually, let's do 4 rounds. We each get to pick 2. So we're going to do 4 rounds. I'm going to pick one, Rob's going to pick one. We'll go back and forth here, and we're going to talk about, are they going to be legit playoff threats, or what's holding them back and what makes them dangerous? Let's see the difference. We know we'll have a little bit debate here and just kind of see where we're at. All right, Wheel of Teams, here we go. All right, Wheel of Teams, here we go. Houston Texans. It's kind of a good one because they got a bit of a young core going on. They're really focused. See what's happening here. But what do you think? You think they're a legit playoff threat?
I think, as you said, they're going to be young. They drafted some new guys. I think that they're going to have at least one rookie starting on their offensive line. You look where they were last year. When you get a good running back, good quarterback, they had a pretty decent offensive line last year coming in, and I think that they'll be healthy coming into the season. So in mid-season, we'll see how they look, but I think they're in good shape.
Personally, I think they're going to be a mediocre team. I don't think they're going to be a solid playoff threat. I think there's someone that's going to win some regular season games. As long as they can get a solid line out there to protect Stroud, I think he could be the guy that's coming through in the next few years. You see him kind of getting better and better and better. But he had a lot of pressure off him in the last few seasons, and his rookie season, and his second year season there. People that had him on this pedestal thinking he was going to be this top dog. And the problem is, if you don't give him a supporting cast of guys that are going to be explosive with him, it's not going to go anywhere. And so that's what they really need to focus on, I think, in this offseason, is really getting guys that can surround Stroud and really making it a solid, explosive offense, and they're going to have success. Defensively, I think if they can beef up their defensive backcourt a little bit and make it so they're not letting as many passes come through and really shutting that kind of stuff down, I think you're going to see a lot more success on the defensive side as well.
How do you think Chubb's going to do there?
I think he's going to do the same way he did every other team. He's going to have a decent season, nothing crazy, probably about 1,000 yards, and then he'll go there for another year and get shipped off to somewhere else.
Is he going to be the number 1 back? Because you always got to remember, too, they got Mixon there, and they're paying Mixon a bunch of money.
Yeah, but Mixon's the kind of guy you put in for the for your first down, stuff like that. Chubb's the kind of guy you put in when you need a few yards, and he's the guy that's going to drop his shoulder and get those extra couple yards when you need them.
100%.
And if they can run a dual back system out of there, have a little scat back system going, I think that would work really well for them as well.
I like that.
All right. Here we go.
Spinner, here we go. Ooh, I like this one. I'm a big Baker fan. Again, I think that guy's got one of the rawest deals in the NFL in a long time. There's no way Cleveland should ever got rid of Baker Mayfield. They'd be in fantastic shape right now in their division if they had Baker instead of the rest of the circus show that they got going on there. Their offensive line has some great veterans that played with when Brady was still there. So, they got some grit, so they know what the winning recipe is. And I think, with, the guys that they have. And again, as I said, I think Baker Mayfield, he's a winner. He's going to always want to win. What you can't say nothing. Like, how many guys can you ever say that showed up on a Wednesday and started on a Sunday and won the game?
Exactly. Not very many. And he's the kind of guy, like you just said, he's got that winning mentality. You give him a solid supporting cast, like they've really tried working with and tried getting these guys to come in there. I think you're going to see a lot more success come out of them. I could see them honestly solidly making a run, being a wild card team, possibly winning that game and going to the divisional rounds.
Concur.
So you ask what's what makes them dangerous? It's Baker Mayfield. What's holding them back, in my opinion, is probably going to be either their running backs in there or possibly their linebackers. They can really learn a little bit, get a little better there, and I think they're going to be a little more successful for sure.
I totally agree with you on their linebacker situation because after they won the Super Bowl, those linebacker cores they had is probably one of the best the game has ever seen. And
yep.
They kind of just rode that one off into the sunshine.
Yep. But I mean, you can't blame them. They got a Super Bowl with Brady and got to take down Mahomes and get the hell out of Dodge.
Right? Win. That's a win-win-win.
Right? All right, let's see it here.
Ooh.
Now, this is what I'm going to say. This is not just a playoff contender. This is a Super Bowl contender. You got a guy that was told he was supposed to be a running back, possibly get drafted as a quarterback receiver duo, and he told everybody, not a chance. I'm one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I can run more than anybody else. Like, he's got more rushing yards than most starting running backs do in the NFL. Right? Like, he is an absolute unit when it comes to playing the quarterback position. And then you look at their offense and defensive line. I mean, they've got some dogs. We just talked about one of their defensive tackles earlier. And then their offensive line, they're a bit of veterans out there, but I think they're really going to be successful this year. Obviously, the Derrick Henry at the running back position. I think that you're going to see a lot of success come out of the Ravens, and I bet you see them in the AFC Championship game.
I seen this clip, to saying Derrick Henry, I seen this clip that states that Adam Sandler said to Derrick Henry, "You break 2,000 yards, buddy, you're in my next movie."
Wow.
Right? And again, he heard it was a rumor, and Adam Sandler said, "Hey, I can make it happen. You do it, you're in the next movie."
That's
I don't know. Cool. Adam Sandler's pretty popular, and he wouldn't be making that kind of statement if he didn't think it could legitimately happen. Like, I mean, it's Derrick Henry. He's getting up there in age, but he still has the power. He's like He-Man.
Oh. He's a monster, dude. I mean, at the end of the day, if you ever looked at his high school stats, it was absolutely disgusting. He was a man amongst boys out there. And you look at the NFL, and it's still the same thing. There is nobody as big as bad as Derrick Henry. And that's me saying, as an Eagles fan, I know Saquon's a monster, and he puts up all the yards because we have one of the best offensive lines. But I'm talking pure grit running backs. When it comes down to it, he's the kind of guy that people are scared to tackle.
100%. I wouldn't want to. No thanks.
Not a chance. Wake up in the hospital.
And we're not even talking about the biggest part of their team is their defense.
Oh, yeah.
Let's be honest. That defense has been good for 20 years, and it will remain good. It's like the same as the Steelers. They're just always good. The Eagles' defense is just always good. Always.
Monsters. All right, let's roll into our last pick here. Who's it going to be? So, I mean, obviously you could start off this one, but you know where I'm coming from too.
I mean, the proof's in the pudding. The quarterback's one concussion away from being a fruit salad. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't just mean that he's sitting out there getting hit all the time because he's a bonehead. They got some leaks and they got some plumbing issues, and I don't know if they know how to fix it. And I don't think what they have can fix what they need.
To be a team like the Dolphins and be able to put up 70 points in a game against the Broncos and then still get shit pumped by other teams, to me that just shows how explosive your offense can be when you're on. When Tua's out there and he's on and he's hucking those deep balls to Tyreek Hill, I mean, it's money. It's so nice to see. But as soon as you play against a defense that kind of knows what you're going to do and they give a little bit of pressure to Tua, he hucks a bad ball. He has no idea what he's doing out there, and he looks like a lost kid trying to look for his parents in the grocery store. Like, he has no idea what's happening.
100%. And, like, I know this from being around football forever. Once you get a stinger, you're always thinking about it. There's like, I mean, and I take that, like, not for offensive line. Offensive linemen, I'm sorry, but, that's something that we love. That feeling of that stinger.
Different breed.
Like,
different breed.
Okay, we're in the game now when you get that stinger. But for quarterbacks, I mean, they're getting the hit a little bit harder than we're getting hit. Like, that's a blind side, can't see it coming, necks jerking, heads cracking off the concrete underneath of the turf.
Well, it's not even that they're getting hit harder. They're getting hit by the same guys. The difference is the offensive linemen and the defensive linemen have the body and the durability to handle a power like that, We're punching them out every single play. It's a fist fight on the line. But when you're a quarterback and you're an undersized quarterback at that point, you take that blindside hit and it goes down bad. I mean, the reality is that dude shouldn't be playing in the NFL anymore. He should retire with the money he's made and we have to live the rest of his life, because the reality here is he's got a Muhammad Ali situation going on where he's having so many concussions and so many hits to the head. By the time this dude hits 60, he is going to be a shell of himself.
And this is only what we've seen. We didn't
see
all the ones as a kid, all the ones as an adolescent, and all the ones as a young man. We didn't see any of those.
Well, I mean, look at his college there. He had to go down for Hurst to step in.
Right? And then vice versa. But yeah, like that
exactly.
That was a crazy situation that happened in that time.
Crazy. I like that. Wheel of teams going there. We're talking about pretenders versus contenders. Again, tell us we're wrong. Go in the comments there and explain to me why, if you're a big fan of those teams and we're kind of shit on them a little bit, explain to me why you think your team is actually going to be a contender in the Super Bowl, because I'd like to hear it. I would.
Right? Come on, Miami Dolphins fans. We just laughed at you, so don't forget about that.
I'm looking at you, big dog. I'm looking at you.
I was going to say his name out loud. Like, don't do it. Don't do it.
All right, rolling on to the next segment. We're going to talk about the Legends chat. So last week, Robbie talked about Andrew Whitworth, and we're offensive line focused. This week, obviously, with a bit more defensive line focus. I want to talk about the guy, the dog, the champion himself. It's Aaron Donald. I know he's just recently retired, but the reality is this guy is an absolute monster. And in my opinion, I've been watching football my entire life. There's lots of greats out there. It's hard to tell me this guy isn't the best that ever did it, though. I truly think so. He is an absolute monster. 111 career sacks from the D tackle spot. Like, that's a linebacker or a defensive end kind of stat. You don't see that from an interior defensive lineman.
Like I said in an earlier segment, he is the Lawrence Taylor of the defensive line.
100%.
You could argue with me that Lawrence Taylor's this and Lawrence Taylor's that, but I've never seen Lawrence Taylor do some of the things that this man has done. Get a sack after, taking on a triple team and to get rid of three guys. And we're talking in the pocket. Three guys blocking you, guard, center, to still get a sack off of that, buddy. You just show me. You show me another guy that could do that.
3-time defensive player of the year as an interior defensive lineman? What? You know what I mean? That's absolutely wild. That's unheard of. To be that good, to say that there's not a safety getting it, there's not a linebacker getting it, there's not an end getting it, it's a defensive interior tackle getting defensive player of the year 3 separate seasons? Get out of here. You can't tell me he's not the best that ever did it.
Oh.
And you're going to ask, what set him apart from everybody else? And it was his constant training. It was his unmatched burst, his leverage, his hand uses. He played with the perfect technique, and he controlled the chaos. He was always in the gap, hold that gap, and then he exploded with the green light. As soon as he seen that quarterback cock the arm, it was go time. And that's the biggest difference, guys. His discipline, it made him dangerous. And that's what makes him a legend. You can't take that away from somebody.
You ever see his interview he did with DJ Metcalf? And DJ Metcalf's like, yeah, I can bench press about 350. Bet you I could bench press more than Aaron Donald. And he says, buddy, on a bad day, we're 550.
And that's what I mean. There's this funny story that goes around with that. You probably heard it with that Make-A-Wish kid, where his dream ever was he beat his cancer and he wanted to come and he wanted to train with Aaron Donald. And you'd think maybe Aaron Donald would have went easy on him, this or that. No, that's not his style. His style is go time all the time. So Stafford talks about it, where he comes in the locker room and they're training in there, and he looks over and he sees this kid just puking into a garbage can because Aaron Donald put him through the workout. He said, "You want to be with me? You want to do what I'm doing? Here's what we're doing today. This is the steps it takes to be as good as I am." And that's what it comes down to. You don't hear that from all these other guys in the league. They train hard, but Aaron Donald trains harder, and he trained like a madman out there.
Right? He's Kobe Bryant in the D tackle form.
100%. That is a perfect analogy. So the next segment we're going to roll into, guys, it's a new segment that we thought about here this week, and it's going to be called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We're going to go through a few different NFL stories and just talk about it here a little bit and just have a little bit back and forth. It's not something that's always super relevant to this season. Sometimes it might be, sometimes it's not, but it's all about just some fun, cool stories in the NFL. So, Rob, you want to take it away?
I do. And this first one, guys, this one's a heartwarming story for all of us, because this guy, I know guys like me and the older generation, and even Preston got to see this guy, we got to grow up with this guy, and he was our Jerry Rice. He was our best player in the NFL. And I remember being a Raiders fan and him coming to the Raiders, and then all of a sudden, week 6, he's gone to the Patriots. But I was excited. I went out. I bought that jersey. I loved it. This is my guy, Randy Moss, returning to ESPN after battling cancer. Hall of Famer will be back full time on Sunday. NFL countdown this fall. Something to celebrate. Both broadcasting and seeing those jokes that he makes. And come on, baby. You got Moss. Moss is coming back.
And I can't say much more. I mean, the guy's an absolute monster. If you ever watch his highlight where he catches that ball and he pops it back, the little, what's it called, a little hook and ladder, he pops it back there. And I mean, like, it is disgusting. To see that in an actual NFL game is something you see in, like, Pee Wee and Pop Warner football. To see someone do that at the highest stage possible, get out of here. Like, absolute monster.
Burger King commercial of all time. Greatest commercial. Greatest.
So another story we're talking about that's a good one here is that it sounds like Matt Nagy's eyeing a comeback right now. He's Chiefs offensive coordinator. But he's drawn some head coach interest going into 2026. And the big thing is that the explosive KC offense minus Super Bowl. That's great news for any coach's and that's great news for any coach's career revival narrative. I mean, you see what he's done with the Chiefs. And obviously, when you have a set stage like those guys and all that kind of stuff, teams are going to look for you. They're going to look at you and they're going to want you on the team. And, that's a good thing to see because it can just mean maybe the Chiefs won't be so good if they don't have their OC. That's something I can hope for.
Right, and you got to look at the Chiefs like they're so good at doing the Chiefs. So once Matt Nagy comes in and he makes them the best that they can possibly be, teams like the Eagles and teams like the other good teams out there, they're keying on all these things that Mahomes does, and you got to have a guy like Nagy to go in there and say, nope, we got to run this play. Like you've seen last year, everybody was keying on Kelsey. Let's give it to the other tight end, and the other tight end was just rocking and rolling all season. Kelsey was high fiving, just pumped for him. Okay, now we got to move on to the bat. Now, this one, we just mentioned his name. This one's kind of a touchy-feely one. Kelsey's contract cliffhanger. Travis Kelce hinted this could be his final year on his contract, saying he will reassess after the season. Does he fade off into deja vu with his girlfriend, or does he try to pull a crazy back-to-back Super Bowl run again? What do you think?
Well, I mean, when you say back-to-back, it's actually would be it's their fourth Super Bowl in a row if they go back to it again. I mean, they've already went to 3 in a row, and out of those 3, they won 2 of them. I mean, that's disgusting. To keep going back and back and back, I mean, that just shows you the dynasty and the legacy they have there. I think Kelsey's definitely on a downturn. I don't think it's anything to do with the football. I think it's his personal life really just kind of taking over with his podcast and his personal life with his girlfriend and things like that, where his focus isn't really on football anymore. And it sucks because you kind of see him lose that love for the game a little bit. And I really hope that he can come back this season and rejoin that love and be the guy that he's supposed to be. Because when he's hot, I mean, goddamn, there is no better receiving tight end than Travis Kelce.
Ever. I love Gronk. I love him. But Gronk didn't do what Kelce did in such a short time.
No, and a little bit different in the sense of Gronk was more, blocking short yardage, where Travis Kelce, he's pretty much a receiver and a tight end body. I mean, he's out there, he's making plays, he's doing cut routes, he's doing everything he needs to be doing to try and be an explosive monster. And it's cool because you see that the younger generation of these guys that want to be like that, they want to be this tight end rolling through, they want to be successful, they want to be they want to be the Tony Gonzalez style. They want to be, Antonio Gates, all these guys that were very aggressive receiving tight ends, the Jimmy Grahams out there. I mean, it's cool to see that now.
I just look at it as in the fact that those guys take an absolute beating and they have so much more body to get hit. So they have so many bigger bruises and they're getting hit by not one DB's hitting them, but they're throwing across the middle of the field. So a linebacker and a safety's coming down and a halfback's hitting them all at the same time, right? That guy takes some damage.
So the next bad one I want to talk about here is that it sounds like they're possibly delaying an 18-game season talks. Major updates on expanding it to an 18-game schedule probably won't come until 2026 now amid player safety concerns. And I get it, but at the same time, they just need to go away with the preseason. Give me one preseason game. It doesn't really matter at all. It's bullish football. No one cares. Just add them into regular season games. We want to see more football. We want to see more starters playing. And I know that you're thinking, it's going to hurt them more, this and that. But if you do it kind of like basketball, I'm not saying where you got to take games off and all that stuff, but it's a long season. There's a grind. You can know which games you need to be having all your starters in for more and which games you don't. There's 32 teams in the NFL, and a proper scouting report on your team will show you which guys need to be in it and which games.
And let's be honest, guys that are coming from football, college, university, wherever they're coming from, they are game ready, battle tested. It's not your dad's football from back in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. These guys are coming with sometimes more knowledge than some of these NFL guys have. They're just legit football players coming right up.
Monsters. And so the last one we're going to roll into is now the ugly stuff. That's it's a little gross. It sucks a little bit, and we'll kind of go from there. And it's a little weak this week. It's not too crazy, but we're going to roll into it next week with the same segment and see what we can kind of get for this.
All right. So this one I had to see because as a AFC West guy, to see jumping Chiefs mascot Dan Mears, the KC Wolf, is retiring after 35 seasons. Wow. Sentimental loss for the Chiefs lore. Wow, that's a surprising one right there.
There was also another guy that wore the Chiefs wolf mask there that robbed a bunch of banks, I believe. So,
a bunch of banks. That might have something to do with it.
I could see a little bad press on the Wolf outfit, for sure from that. Next one I want to talk about, obviously, is officiating Hard Knocks. So there's an ongoing debate over refs' consistency, especially since the hugely criticized Fox graphic overall, and it continues to spike a lot of fan frustrations. What I mean by that is, I've watched a lot of NFL games, and it's been really prominent in the last few years where you can tell that sports betting has gotten involved in this game way too much, to the point where they've called the league an entertainment league. They've got away from having to try and prove that they're not cheating on it. And I don't mean to use the word cheating because that's not fair. I don't mean cheating. I don't think any team truly cheats with refs, but I do think there's a certain precedence that these refs set, and I think they're informed before the game starts of what needs to happen and what doesn't, and I think they're letting certain things go and certain things out because they know what the money lines are set on, and I truly am going to sit with that and believe that.
And I will call it the Taylor Swift effect, because I tell you, getting those Taylor Swift fans on the TV and on everywhere they've been sure tells me one thing and one thing only. I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying something.
And you got to look at it from a business standpoint. I understand that, the certain fans and the certain fan base you have are going to sell more seats and buy more tickets and watch more games. I get it. But at the same time, as a longtime NFL fan and someone who loves it, I don't care what team makes the Super Bowl, as long as the right team's in the Super Bowl for the right things and the right reasons. And you seen last year what happened when a team got super, super exposed because there was so much drama surrounding that fact of the refs, swaying a certain team one way or the other, that when they didn't really get that, I think it was 35-0. Right. Until the starters got pulled and they started scoring on backups. And so, again, I'm not saying that there are certain teams that cheat or that willingly do those things or try and pay the refs or anything like that. But I think as a business standpoint, I think the league does try to push. And you look at any league, like the NBA did it a lot when they had Michael Jordan as the face of the league. He was allowed to get away with lots of stuff. That Allen Iverson, for example, was allowed to pawn the ball and do what he needed to do and wasn't getting called for it because they really wanted the show out there. LeBron James, they let him get away with how many flops and how many different things because it's exciting because they want to see him dunk the ball and they want to see him playing out. People aren't paying to go watch the backups. They're paying to watch the starters.
Right. Shaquille O'Neal could ride anybody to the ground he wanted to. No flagrant.
Right?
Yao Ming, you getting a flag.
It's just, and that's how sports are. Again, it's a business. It's one of those things. I get it, but it's definitely ugly, and it's something that I don't appreciate. Bonus heat we got is some NFC East drama. It sounds like Hard Knocks is return to the NFL this year, and it's going to be focused on the NFC East this December. So expect some behind-the-scenes squad heat, and don't miss the Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, and Commanders dynamic, because I think it's going to be a really tough division this year. I think it's going to come down to those two teams, and Dallas is going to probably make a bit of a fight. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff monster or anything like that, but regular season-wise, it's going to be a three-team battle for that. Who's going to be the top in the NFC East?
I concur. I totally agree with you.
So, guys, that's the meat and potatoes of the episode here. I appreciate you guys for staying on. Like, subscribe, like I talked about at the beginning of the episode. We need the love, too. We're showing it back out. We need the support. Want to keep building this program up, keep building what we're doing here. So, again, really focus my D-line guys out there. I need you to really sit there and focus that run-first mentality. You have to do it every single time. You just have to. The mindset, it builds way better defenses. And, guys, if you got any clips or any things like that, coaches, players, guys out there that are just fans, send them in. You got any shout outs, put the comments in. We like that. You can email us at HoggyShuffle@gmail.com. It's at HoggyShuffle. It'd be HoggyShuffle@gmail.com. Send us an email. Let us know what you're thinking. You can leave us in the comments. And, next week topic, obviously, is going to more focus back on offensive line next week and focus back into that as well, too. Hoggie Shuffle on all socials as well, too. Follow us, like, subscribe on YouTube. We're on Spotify. You can see us on our shorts on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. And at the end of the day, boys, stay square.
Stay nasty.
We'll see you back next week.
See you guys.